It is day 2 of the Sean Diddy Combs federal trial. Combs' ex-girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, she is one of Combs' many accusers, testifying as a central witness.
Is she ready?
Very ready and confident. Thank you.
Among other things, the singer is expected to address the 2016 video of Combs attacking her in a hotel when she was his.
They once called him a music mogul, a kingmaker, the blueprint of hip-hop's success. But that image crumbled the moment Cassie Ventura took the stand. In just minutes, the courtroom went from composed to stunned. Diddy's face went pale as Cassie unleashed bombshell after bombshell. So wild, even the most seasoned lawyers were frozen. The man who once ran the game sat there, exposed, as Cassie peeled back the curtain on what really happened behind those doors.
She walked in there, Rachel. She had on a brown dress, form-fitting, visibly pregnant, head held high, and did not make any eye contact with the defendant, with Sean Combs. He said that Sean Combs directed everything from what she had on to the lighting in the room to how she was supposed to interact with the person that she was having sex with. And again, just to reiterate what is a freak-off, the freak-off essentially was something that Cassie said she learned about through Sean Combs about a year into their relationship. He described it as voyeurism, wanting to watch her have sex with someone else. And she said that she did it because she was 22, 21, she was young, she didn't know any better, and that she wanted to please Sean Combs.
Among other things, the singer is expected to address the 2016 video of Combs attacking her in a hotel when she was his girlfriend. Combs has pleaded not guilty. His attorneys argue the video is evidence of jealousy, not sex trafficking. And now for the first time, jurors are hearing what Cassie has to say about that and other aspects of their 10-year relationship.
For decades, Sean Diddy Combs walked through the music world like he owned it. Because honestly, he kind of did. He built Bad Boy Records from the ground up, turned rising artists into icons, and expanded his empire into fashion, vodka, and media. On paper, Diddy was the success story, the guy who made hip-hop corporate, the polished businessman, the mentor, the visionary. But according to what's coming out in court right now, that glossy image was just a mask. While magazines praised his business acumen, fans screamed at his shows, and cameras loved his red carpet charm, Cassie Ventura, his ex, was reportedly living a much darker reality. And yesterday, when she took the stand, that perfect public image started to fall apart. In court, Diddy showed up like the mogul he's always been. Designer suit, million-dollar legal team, calm smile, like it was just another board meeting. But that vibe didn't last. Within 30 minutes of Cassie's testimony, the energy flipped. His confidence, gone. His composure, cracked. Witnesses said he couldn't sit still. He fidgeted nonstop. His tie, his cufflinks, even his hands. Then he started frantically scribbling notes and passing them to his lawyers. So fast, one of them had to motion for him to chill. Reporters called it surreal, watching a man so used to controlling everything, suddenly losing his grip. One reporter said he looked pale, like someone cut the power. Another swore he looked physically sick as Cassie calmly exposed everything. And this was just the beginning. Because as her testimony continued, the courtroom braced for a moment that could shake the entire industry. A bombshell so massive, it threatens to undo the legacy Diddy spent decades building. The man who always controlled the narrative was finally facing a story he couldn't rewrite, couldn't spin, couldn't silence.
At some point in time, she actually had said that she looked forward to the freak-offs. Why did Cassie express looking forward to these said freak-offs?
When the prosecution asked her, was there ever a time that you enjoyed the freak-offs? This is when Cassie got choked up and she said, I did, but only because I got to spend one-on-one time with Combs, and I really did love him.
And that is speaking to the psychological abuse, in addition to the physical abuse that she potentially experienced.
Yeah, she's definitely laying out someone who was young, who was influenced by wanting to have this record career. She signed a 10-album deal with Bad Boy Entertainment, led by Sean Combs, and basically describes being enamored by Sean Combs, loving him, not knowing about certain things sexually, and him sort of telling her, teaching her about that. And what you hear is someone that was young and she even said, you know, I was young, I was naive, I didn't know any better. But she's really telling the story of someone who thought she was going to be with someone in this music industry that was going to help her career, that cared about her, but quickly learned after the freak-offs that wasn't the case. And what I thought was also interesting is she said that after that first freak-off, she said she felt dirty. She didn't want to do it. And when she brought up the idea of having a conversation about the freak-offs in an email, which the jurors saw, she said she backpedaled in the email because Combs responded by saying, "I know, you don't want to do it." And she said, "Oh, no, well, it's not that." But that was the beginning. That was in 2010, where she brings up in an email that she wanted to have a conversation about this. And in her words, she didn't want to do it, but she felt like she had to do it.
Well, Diane, prosecutors have wasted no time getting right into the alleged abuse that Cassie Ventura says she endured for years. Ventura telling jurors, quote, "He would bash my head, knock me over, drag me, kick me, stomp me in the head when I was down." She also got into the nature of those so-called freak-offs, saying that they involved hiring an escort and they performed under the direction of Combs, saying that they happened so frequently it eventually became a job for her to set them up. Ventura said she did not feel she had much of a choice but to participate, that she feared that Combs would retaliate or potentially blackmail her if she did not. And she's had at times to she's taken deep breaths, pausing her testimony, Combs appearing to be listening pretty passively with his hands in his lap at the defense table.
When Cassie Ventura took the stand, the entire courtroom froze. You could hear a pin drop. Everyone knew her testimony was coming, but no one, not even Diddy's high-powered legal team, was prepared for the storm she was about to unleash. After years of silence, Cassie finally had the floor, and she didn't waste a second. She started slow, eerily calm. That's what made it even more chilling. Cassie recounted meeting Diddy at just 19, a young model chasing a dream. He was already a music mogul, rich, powerful, and untouchable. The power gap, massive, and according to Cassie, Diddy knew exactly how to use it from day one. Her testimony unfolded like a horror movie, creeping forward, each detail worse than the last. It began with what she called small control tactics. Diddy obsessively tracking her whereabouts, showing up randomly when she was out with friends. Then things escalated, fast. She claimed he started sabotaging her career, threatening to shelve her music, killing collabs with other artists he felt threatened by. And then came the real jaw-dropper. Court transcripts reveal Cassie testified that Diddy had installed tracking software on her phone. He'd call her minutes after she arrived at places, proving he knew exactly where she was, 24/7. One by one, she said, he isolated her, cutting off friends, killing connections, until it was just her and him. The courtroom cracked with tension. The judge had to call for order 3 times. Diddy couldn't keep it together, shaking his head, snapping at his lawyers, making expressions the jury definitely noticed. Every time the judge warned him, he cooled off, only to lose control again minutes later. It was like watching a man who's always had the final word finally realize he doesn't. And then, boom, the moment that turned the courtroom upside down. Cassie handed her phone to her attorney. Screens lit up with messages, emails, and texts, projected for everyone to see. Diddy's face, pure shock. He clearly didn't know she'd saved them. Messages where he allegedly apologized for violent outbursts. Messages where he threatened her career if she spoke up. Messages that shattered the clean-cut image his PR team had spent years crafting. And that was just the warm-up. Cassie went on to describe brutal physical assaults. The room went cold as she detailed being shoved into walls. And worse, she described a terrifying night in a Miami rental where she says Diddy pushed her down a flight of stairs. But the most haunting? Multiple incidents where she said he choked her until she nearly blacked out, only stopping when she went limp. The jury felt it. One older woman was seen wiping away tears. A male juror reportedly couldn't even look at Diddy after the darker details. Even veteran reporters admitted they'd never sat through testimony this raw, this detailed, this devastating. And the wild part? This was just the beginning. Because the next thing Cassie described, the hotel incident, that's the one that would blow this case wide open.
relationship with Diddy. Some of those details we've seen in prior lawsuits, but to hear her on the stand actually giving those details, reliving those moments herself. Also, you have to remember, she's very pregnant right now. So I'm gonna be curious to see how long she makes it on the stand, how she's emotionally able to weather all of these questions. And what's going to be interesting to watch is, you know, the defense from the very start in their opening statement said that she chose to be there. So I'm going to be curious to see how she responds to questions about, was this her choice or did she feel like she had to do all of these things?
I think what made Cassie emotional is having to describe the details of the freak-off and why she did it. When she talked about wanting to do it to please Sean Combs, that's when she broke down. Up until that point, she had just been answering the questions. She's a little soft-spoken at times, but that's when she got emotional. When she had to answer the question about if she enjoyed it, that's when she broke down, because she said, I enjoyed being with Sean Combs. And she says, I did it because it made him happy.
What did the expressions of the jurors look like?
The jurors are laser focused on what Cassie has to say. And that's to be expected, right? Because she is the person who will likely be on the stand, according to attorneys, for 2, maybe 3 days. She's the one that was in the relationship with Sean Combs for over 10 years. So she's got a lot to say, and she's just getting started.
Just how important is Cassie's testimony to the prosecution?
I think it really connects the dots, Rachel. When you look at that initial indictment and what's being alleged, she really is the person that has probably the most information about this idea that the prosecution says, which is creating a criminal enterprise for Sean Combs' sexual desires. Something else that the jurors saw today that sort of connects it back to this alleged criminal enterprise are 7 photos of people that were very close to Sean Combs, one even his former chief of staff. And these were all people that Cassie Ventura was able to name and explain the functions in terms of what they did: security, driver, chief of staff, someone that handled financials. So it's showing that she knew some of these people, again, because she was with him, around him for so long.
I thought I was going to die that night, Cassie whispered. Barely audible, but the courtroom leaned in, like the air itself had frozen. What she described next? No one had ever heard it. Not the press, not the blogs, not even the deepest corners of Reddit. This was the Four Seasons Hotel incident, buried, hidden, and now unleashed. Cassie said she kept it locked away for years, out of fear. Fear for her safety, fear of what it would do to her career, and fear that no one would believe her. Not against a titan like Diddy, but now, sitting on that witness stand, she was done being silent. It started like a normal after party, industry folks, music execs, the usual scene. But Cassie testified that the second Diddy saw her talking to another man in the business, everything shifted. His smile vanished. He grabbed her arm so hard it left marks and whispered threats in her ear, all while smiling for the cameras. And then it got worse. Cassie told the court that Diddy dragged her through the hotel lobby. Yes, the lobby, sobbing, trying to pull away. People saw. Hotel security even stepped in. But when the guard recognized Diddy, he just asked, "Is everything okay?" And when Diddy nodded, the guard walked off. "He didn't even ask if I was okay," Cassie said, her voice breaking. Then came the gut punch, the photos. Her lawyer pulled up shaky, raw mirror selfies taken the next morning. Not glammed up PR shots. These were real, grainy, haunting. Bruises on her arms, a swollen lip, red marks around her neck. You could hear gas ripple through the courtroom. Diddy's legal team went nuclear, trying to block the images, calling them unauthenticated, claiming they could have come from anything. But the judge wasn't having it. Overruled, every time. As those photos lit up the courtroom screens, the jury's reaction said it all. One woman clutched her mouth in horror. 2 male jurors turned their heads, visibly disturbed. Another juror scribbled notes so fast her hand was shaking. And just when you thought it couldn't go further, Cassie dropped the bomb. She testified that Diddy hurled a champagne bottle at her head. Missed her by inches. It shattered against the wall. Then came the rampage. A broken lamp, tables flipped, a bathroom door punched in, and then the part that stunned the entire courtroom silent. Cassie said he trapped her in that hotel room for over 48 hours, took her phone, threatened her if she tried to scream or call for help. 2 days, no way out.
What the defense is going to say is that this wasn't blackmail, this was not coercion, this was consensual. We know that Cassie started out with Sean Combs as an early person with someone who is trying to get her career started, and he was going to help her. That's what the defense is going to say, that she was starting out and wanted someone to support her. They did their first record deal together. That's something I think the defense is going to focus on, and had it not been for Sean Combs, she wouldn't be where she is right now. The prosecution obviously is saying he was in control. It may have started out as a consensual. It may have started out with her being excited about seeing him, but ultimately he took control of that relationship. He took control of her career. This is their key witness, and she's on that stand trying to explain all of the charges that the prosecution wants to hit home with that jury.
No, there was a moment early on when Cassie mentioned Dallas Austin, who she called a friend who's a producer. So I don't know if that's someone that we're going to hear from. We know that there were pictures shown to prospective jurors that are well-known celebrities, you know, Kanye West, Kid Cudi, Lauren London. We don't know, though, how they fit yet into why they were even asked, do you know these people? Are you familiar with them?
So the prosecution is questioning Cassie right now, still questioning her.
The defense hasn't even got a chance to, I mean, that might change based on the timing, but, you know, because she's such a key witness, it's likely that she will be on that stand the rest of the day. We learned that Cassie referred to him as Pop Pop, and Sean Combs would refer to her as CC. The prosecution says, what does CC stand for? She said Cassie Combs.
What kind of witness is Cassie coming off as to the jurors?
I think naturally when you look at her visually, people see that she's pregnant and looking like she's due any day now. So they might, you know, have empathy, sympathy for her in that way, but we don't really know. We know that they've been instructed to be fair and impartial. As to what type of witness she's coming off as, she's describing someone that she was, someone she said that was trying to figure out who she was at that time and who she was allowed to be. Now you're looking at somebody that's almost 40 years old, totally different person, but even in describing what was going on at her at that time, taking drugs, trying to please Sean Combs, she's really just sort of laying out the case for her not having a lot of control. So I think that's the takeaway. This is someone who is making it very clear that at that particular time in her life, she says she did not have any control really over what she wore, what she did, who she was having sex with. She's a different person now, but I think when she talks about those details and even reflecting on them for herself, as we saw today, she broke.
By the time she finished, everyone turned to look at Diddy, and his face, that moment alone could define the entire trial, and maybe, just maybe, end his career.